Welcome to Covered in Pet Hair, a boozy show for pet lovers on Pet Life Radio. I'm your host, Isabel Alvarez-Arata, and today I have the pleasure of having a drink and a chat with a lady that is catering to the modern dog parent in a very specific way. Welcome back to Covered in Pet Hair. I'm your host, Isabel Alvarez-Arata, and today I have the pleasure of having a drink and a chat with a pet parent, a researcher, an entrepreneur. She's a foodie, a wine snob, and a cocktail connoisseur. She's originally from Seal Beach, California, and currently lives in Los Angeles. She's fiancée to Melissa, dog mom, to a 6-year-old miniature dachshund named Poppy. She's co-founder of Dogdrop Daycare. Shaina Denny, welcome. So good to have you on the show, Shaina. I've been listening to all the interviews you've done. I have nothing but fantastic things to say about your journey, and I can't wait to learn more about you.
Thanks, Isabel. I'm excited to have a cocktail or mocktail with you and talk more pet.
Absolutely. Okay, so I want to know all about your brand of doggy daycare, because as we all know, especially experienced dog owners know, that the quality of doggy daycares ranges immensely.
That's one way to put it.
Yes, and not all doggy daycares are good enough for my dog specifically.
So does your dog go to doggy daycare?
She does not, because we live in El Paso and I work from home. But when I lived in Northern Virginia, we had tons of doggy daycares to choose from. And there were only a select few that I would have considered as appropriate for my pets. But I want to learn all about what makes you guys different, special, and innovative. But before I do that, I want to introduce our drinking game today. So anybody at home participating in our drinking game, anytime you hear this word, take a drink of whatever you're enjoying. Could be a mocktail, a cocktail, whatever it is. Just have fun with it. But please be over 21 to partake in the US. Never drink and drive, and always drink responsibly. So what are you having, Shaina?
I am having a homemade lemonade and raspberry mocktail mix. I know it's a little blurry right here with a little cucumber on top.
Nice, very fresh. I am actually having a sparkling cocktail myself. This is actually a rose sparkler that I made up. And thanks to AI, I named it. And it is made with this really cool deep rose. This is not sponsored, but deep rose lemonade that I found at Whole Foods. And if you like rose water flavors, oh, this is so good. So I had to make a cocktail with it. So cheers to you. Thank you for being my guest.
Cheers. Thank you. I actually love rose water, and I've not heard of deep rose. So I'm definitely going to try it out next time I'm in Whole Foods.
I know, I'm addicted. I actually go to Whole Foods just to get it now. It's so good. It's so refreshing. And because it's in Whole Foods, I assume it's a whole food, even though it probably isn't. But
it has to be.
It has to be on their shelves, right? All right. So I always introduce this show with a game, and this is no different today. We are celebrating the end of 2023, bringing in good vibes for 2024. But before we get into the New Year's resolutions of it all, I want to play a game with you, Shaina, and it's called Doing the Doggone Thing, Dogdrop Edition. So I'm going to give you 1 minute on my handy dandy clock, which I'm going to stop right now. Otherwise, I'm going to cut you off. And I am going to ask you in that minute to tell us why your doggy daycare, Dogdrop, is better than all the other doggy daycare concepts out there. Are you ready to play?
Let's do it. Start the countdown.
3, 2, 1, go.
Dogdrop is a new kind of dog daycare. Why we think it's better is because we created it because we couldn't find a solution that met the standards of our helicopter dog parent needs, such as myself. And Isabel, I get the feeling you might be one of us too. Yes. We start with the basics, and that comes with the quality of care. So in dog daycare, it's a highly unregulated industry. So we're actually trying to change that and create our own gold or Dogdrop Blue standard when it comes to our training with the staff. The other part is on flexibility. flexibility, especially for the modern day pet parent, to have very flexible access in and out, pay in 30-minute increments, especially when you're working from home, get your dog out for an hour or two to socialize, have a few uninterrupted podcast interviews, all of the above. And then the third component is really on the tech. So we build all the technology ourselves so that we can provide our pet parents a better experience.
Amazing. Very few people can be as succinct. You had 2 seconds left to go. Congratulations. That was fantastic. So like I said, I heard a lot of your interviews because I like to research, obviously, my guests and get a feel for what they're about. And as with many of my other guests, there was a dog that started it all. So tell me about Poppy, how you got her, and what it's been like raising her.
Yeah, definitely. So it always, I think that's the common theme, especially in the pet space. It always starts with the dog, and a pain point that as pet parents have experienced. So handful of years ago now, I got my miniature dachshund Poppy. And at this time, I actually was about to be working from home. This was even pre-pandemic. So I thought, there's no better time now. I'm more than capable to watch a dog, all the usual things that you tell yourself. How hard could it be? And like 2 weeks in, I realized I was quite naive with that. She needed a lot more socialization and attention than I can give her. I would take her out for a walk, and I wanted to go out for a walk as well. And it'd be 45 minutes. And next thing you know, we're back inside and she's at my leg again saying like, hey, that's it. So that's really kind of started it. I was like, there's got to be a better place. So I discovered a local dog daycare, a quite popular one here in Los Angeles, and was sort of met with disappointment after disappointment on the pet human parent experience. And so somehow got fixated on this issue and anything for our dogs, and decided to build a better solution.
That's awesome. It really does always start with somebody either dropping the ball or just not meeting your standards. I had a professional pet sitting business for 15 years before the pandemic in Northern Virginia. And it started because no pet sitting business would call me back. So
yeah,
I was
that's
like,
it. Even answering for us, we text real time at all times and provide pet parents updates consistently throughout the day. Something that easy. We're like, if your dog is under our care, you can reach us at any time. We can provide a photo or video. We'll give you a real-time update, all from fun stuff, who's their best friend of the day, until like more functional information. Did they go to the bathroom? Did they eat all their food, half of it? So pet parents are better prepared when they pick up their dog.
I love that so much. And I love the idea that you do like 30-minute increments, because you don't always need a 9 to 5 situation or solution. And for socializing, that shorter period might actually be better for the younger pets because they get overstimulated like kids in like with a long day at daycare. They might actually pick up some bad habits, but like if you give them there maybe 1 or 2 hours of socialization every few days, it's kind of optimum. Do you feel like people are using your services for that specific reason,
definitely.
to socialize?
That was one of our biggest kind of theses when building this, is that the modern dog parent doesn't need Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 daycare. There are some folks that still might, but that most people just need a couple hours here and there. And that was really what we were going after, is to provide something more flexible so that they're not locked into paying more than they have to. And also that we're open for quick drop-offs and pickups anytime throughout the day. We even have some members who drop off in the morning for an hour, take their dog, work from home. People want to spend time with their dog as well. And then maybe they're going to go out to drink later in the afternoon or hit the gym or something, and they can actually come back in and just pay for what they use.
That's amazing. And what are your hours? Are you also open on weekends?
We're open on Saturdays. We're closed on Sundays. On the daycare, we find it just as important to make sure that our team, the care team members, are able to provide the best care. And in order to provide the best care, having folks that are rested and have, suitable working hours is really important to us. So it's always hard to balance, and because we want to be able to meet customer and member needs, but we also want to make sure that we're providing a sustainable workplace for our employees as well.
Of course, absolutely. I love that so much. It really is important. You can't work yourself to death and then expect to have patience and, good reaction time when things go wrong. Inevitably, working with animals, you have to be ready for a worst case scenario. And how are you going to do that if you're just exhausted and overworked? So I totally agree with that. So how do you cater to the modern pet parent other than your flexibility? Is it a membership-based kind of situation?
Yeah, so it's a membership base. So our community, we're really at the forefront about the safety and the health of the dogs. And that comes through everything, right? Making sure that all members in our community are vaccinated so that we have their health records on file. And we'll actually go ahead and call the vets and retrieve their health records ourselves to take that off of the plate of pet parents. And so the membership really helps with that component as well, and ensuring that the dogs get to know each other. Dogs are living, breathing animals. And so once they get to know the group, it's always very helpful for more frequent visitors too. And then I think definitely in terms of that communication aspect is the level of service that parents in our generation really expect. We expect transparency. Not all information is always super positive. Your dog is, a dog. It's not every day a great day. That we're also honest is like, hey, we're looking out for this, or, someone's actually a little sleepy today. We're going to make sure that they have enough rest, or is maybe a bit more reactive than they typically are. So we want to keep pet parents just as informed, and really build that trust. And so that we can deliver the experience that pet parents expect.
That's amazing. I have two young children, and I remember when I first sent my oldest to school, I was disappointed because of the lack of communication, because I was used to the pet industry where at least my service providers always communicate and let me know what's up. And now sometimes I feel like with my kid, all I hear is the bad stuff. You're right. Like it needs to be a balance of the good, the bad, the functional, like did he poo? Did he pee? Is it soft? What's it look like? So I totally agree with that. So I want to take a break right now. When we get back, I want to ask you more about your locations and your plans for 2024. So don't go anywhere. I will be right back with Shaina of Dogdrop Daycare. Welcome back to Covered in Pet Hair. I'm your host, Isabel Alvarez-Arata, and today I have the pleasure of having a drink and a chat with Shaina Denny of Dogdrop Daycare, which is catering to the modern pet parent, dog parent specifically, in ways that I feel like we all have been craving for decades, making it easier, making it flexible, making it a community rather than random people just showing up every day at daycare. I love all that you've told me so far. I'm totally in. I know you started in LA. Where are you right now?
Yeah, so we opened our first location in downtown Los Angeles in the Arts District neighborhood in 2020. And today we have 3 locations. 2 are in Los Angeles. We have 1 location in Denver, and we're opening our first location in Fort Lauderdale in Florida in early 2024.
Congratulations. So I know you're a franchise setup. How many states are you able to franchise in?
So we're currently franchising across the US. There's only a handful of states that we're not franchising in. So open in all different markets, and excited to meet different operators to bring Dogdrop to more pet parents in their neighborhoods.
Absolutely. It's such a cool idea. People who want to go into the pet industry, but they don't know where to start. So having the opportunity to franchise an awesome concept like this really makes the whole thing so much easier. And you have, the backing of this kind of brand, the technology. Will you tell us a little bit about why your technology is different and why you felt the need to make that part of your brand?
Yeah, I'll start with that is that, of course, we have a philosophy, always buy before you build. And so if there's something that's available and out there, there's no reason to build it yourself. When we started Dogdrop, we looked into every possible solution before deciding to build something. And we Frankensteined a ton of different apps and Google Sheets and every CRM together so that we could deliver on our overall promise to pet parents, which goes back to the quality, convenience, and flexibility. And with those as our core values to our dog parents, we actually decided to build our own digital product so that we can deliver on that promise. And our team has a very strong tech background as well, so it's very natural for us. And then we can fully vertically be fully vertically integrated and control the entire experience from the offline to online experience as well. And so this allows us to operate our locations more efficiently, everything from the basics, payment processing, health records, everything that a location needs to run and operate. And then for pet parents to be able to manage their profile, track their usage, and get other benefits that way.
That's amazing. As I said, I was a professional pet sitter, and I couldn't have done that without software. I never created my own software, so I had to use what existed. And I agree, sometimes it just wasn't quite right. We would have to work around it. But because you have your site set on multiple locations, multiple operators, it makes so much sense to have started with the technology.
I think one thing that also really stands out is our business model is very different with the membership and quick stops and paying in 30-minute increments. So using a existing software that was out there was just getting in the same box of traditional dog daycares. And we're like, hey, that's actually not our business. And we don't want to be in that business model. Our business model is focused on these quicker stops, different payment processing, everything there for members to actually pay for just their utilization. So that was really important for us as well.
That's awesome. Okay, so I learned about your previous experience. You were in tech, you were in B2B, you did a lot of work in China. Why China?
I was always really interested in China, like coming from a background of like interest of importing and exporting products just sort of on the side. And so the culture definitely interested me as well as the business environment. So I ended up going to business school in China in 2015, and then ended up staying there for about 4 years. So after school, I completely fell in love with especially the startup scene. It's very fast paced and I think gives you a lot of opportunity for growth and exploration. So I stayed there, was in Shanghai for a few years, and then moved up to Beijing. Definitely interested, not in the pet industry at all, primarily more in hardware, but it's been great to kind of transition and move back to the US and break into a new industry.
Yes. And in one of your interviews, you said you were working, like 6 days a week. What was it?
The company that I worked with had this like coin term. They call it the 996. So from 9 to 9, 6 days a week. It's kind of just a cultural phenomenon at any tech company over there. So definitely a different work-life balance here. But I mean, also starting my own business, you kind of work crazy hours. And I think most people probably did the same while pet sitting and having kids and having a podcast. So
yeah. No, I think that it prepared you for small business ownership and large business ownership, which is where you're headed. So I love that so much. I think that we have to start somewhere, and sometimes it's the grind that gets us where we're going. I love your outlook. I know that you started manifesting with your mom as a kid. Tell me about that.
I think I'm like, you really dug deep into some of the interviews. I mean, I think my family is also really interested in like manifesting your dreams. And I know some people kind of find that like, oh, ironic, or you have to, it's not true. But I think unless you can see yourself and believe in something, it's really hard for it to actually become. And so I kind of take that same philosophy. What we're doing at Dogdrop is really believing it and seeing this vision in a world where we can see dog drops all across the country and around, and now actually having to work and put in the hours and put in the work and actually execute on that vision. So all of that helps build the building blocks to get there.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're going into a new year. I want to invite you to play a game with me, which is called Resolutions 24. And it's just about resolutions, your resolutions, kind of digging into what your thoughts are on resolutions. Are you ready to play?
Let's do it. I haven't given much thought, so you're going to put me on the spot.
I know, I'm putting you on the spot. This is even better. I think about resolutions like the last quarter of the year, like the whole last quarter of the year.
Yeah, it's funny because, well, you might ask this, but I break them down into quarterly resolutions rather than annual resolutions. But
I did not have that planned, but I will ask about that. Okay, so do you believe in resolutions, like for the general public?
Yeah, so when it comes to personal or professional business resolutions, I think maybe I use them interchangeably, call it resolutions, objectives, goals, but I definitely think doing something without a plan very rarely gets you to the finish line.
True, truth. How long do you think most people stick to their resolutions?
So what, January 30th? um,
I've given up before that even.
yeah, 2 weeks in. I think, and I don't know, probably just anecdotally, I think most people pretty quickly.
Yeah. So tell us about your quarterly resolutions. How does that work?
Yeah, so that's actually why I break resolutions, and I'll use that term, to cover like personal and professional and even for our business into quarterly goals and objectives. And I think that's why businesses have quarterly reports as well, because it's a lot easier to track something and really push for the next 90 days and track your progress over a 90-day period. Of course, I want to know where I'm headed over the next 12 plus months, but then actually break them down into things that are attainable and reachable. So that's how I really look at them and kind of break them down into buckets where I say like, hey, maybe at 12 months, I want to be over here, but what are the 4 steps that are going to get me there?
I love that. That is such a good idea. I've never thought about that. And I love a new beginning. So I feel like every quarter feeling like a new beginning is way more helpful than once a year. So if you had to attribute a resolution to Poppy, what do you think hers would be?
Oh, let's see. She's getting a little lazy these days. I think her resolution would be to try to go out for like 3 walks a day. She's right now at about 2 walks and like 1 play session. So I think getting out on more walks would be one, and I think she'd definitely ask for more treats. This dog never was treat motivated or food motivated until literally the past year. So when we're training her, just like nothing would get her motivated. Even like it could be a nice piece of like meat, raw meat, anything, she wouldn't do it. But this past year, I think whatever hit her in her 6th year, but she's definitely more treat motivated.
That's interesting. I was going to ask if you changed the treats, but that wasn't it.
Nope. I think it's just in her, just like humans, their minds and taste buds and shit or whatever. So
yes, it's true. It's true. Absolutely. Okay. So what are your resolutions in terms of being a dog parent? What do you have in mind for 2024?
I think for myself, I have a miniature dachshund. And so one thing that I take that's really important to us is to ensure that she doesn't jump off the furniture or stairs, anything of that sort. So I think continuing to stay disciplined as we've had different scares, and sometimes we can get lazy or again focus on the convenience of ourselves, like everyone. And so I'm like, oh, and she'll be fine, or I don't need to push that cushion there. And I think that's one thing that I just want to make sure I'm very cognizant about. So it's the top resolution that I have going into next year, and that she'll, every year getting a little older. And so for us to all make sure that we're not getting lazy as dog parents, and we're, even if it takes 10 extra seconds, we're going the mile for our dogs.
Absolutely. I think that's so important. And it's the little things like moving the cushion and getting up and off the couch when you're comfy to help them back on the couch or whatever. For me, it's Kira loves her daily walks. And as it gets colder, I live in El Paso, Texas, because I love the sun and I love the warmth. And when it gets cold, I get lazy. So I'm with you. Just making those little extra efforts to make sure that their needs are met is so important. Great job. So, what do you usually do to celebrate New Year's Eve? Are you like the type that goes out and has like party night? Or are you more the one that stays in and creates a vision board, or somewhere in between?
I'm probably somewhere in between. I do like to, go out and celebrate, but I take the New Year. It's a great time to like feel good about yourself. Like I want to go into the new year feeling good, not exhausted or anything of that sort. So it's a balancing act too, because you want to still celebrate with friends while you can.
Awesome. So you lived in China. China has obviously a world famous New Year's. It doesn't align with ours. What did you learn about their culture and new beginnings? And did you adopt any of their rituals for new beginnings?
When I lived in Beijing, I actually lived with in an apartment, and my roommate was Chinese as well. So I got to celebrate Chinese New Year's with him and his family in a very traditional sense. Before that, I realized the whole month you need to wear earplugs when you're sleeping. They'll do fireworks all month long. So much more like for us, we have one big night of celebration. It
Right.
feels like forever when you're trying to sleep and fireworks and firecrackers going off.
The
But
poor dog. All I can think is the poor dogs and the
I
animals, like
know.
just
I
panicked
think
for a month.
they must. I'm not quite sure. I think maybe they're used to it or something, because it's more frequent. So, yeah, definitely like to get involved whenever traveling somewhere and understand their culture. And if you have the opportunity to be with more of like a local as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And do they have like New Year's resolutions for their new year? Do they do similar like goal setting? Is that
A
traditional?
little different than the goal setting. There's something called, like, the translation is like a red envelope. You might have seen these. They've kind of gained more popularity in Western culture over the last few years. And so you can give a gift. Most people give money in the red envelope and kind of wish
Okay.
them the best for New Year. But I'm not the expert on exactly what other traditions they have.
So basically going into the new year thinking prosperity, prosperity,
Yep.
prosperity. I'm trying to manifest prosperity too, for sure.
Yep.
Especially after all the spending I've done on like Cyber Monday. So I totally. Um, I have one last question for you, and this is a big one. So what is your hope? What is your goal? What are your dreams for Dogdrop? Where do you guys want to go? How many locations are you after? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I think there's no large household name in dog daycare still. There are some players with even a couple hundred locations across the United States, but the average person is still quite unaware of them. And I think for us, that's where we see the big opportunity, is that there will be a household name in dog daycare, that this is a service that's going to only increase with traction and utilization as parents realize how important dog socialization, mental stimulation is, that it's just as critical to a dog's complete and whole health as, having a healthy diet
Yes.
and fresh dog food too. So for us, our mission is just to focus again on the three core components of our company: convenience, flexibility, and quality. And if we can get there and be more convenient for dog parents to have access to quality daycare, then that for us would be an accomplishment.
Absolutely. It sounds like you guys are going into a really good market. I'm from Miami, so Fort Lauderdale is a
Yep.
great place to have a doggy daycare. Lots of long commutes, lots of pet lovers down there. So I think that's a great idea. I wish you nothing but the best. How can my audience learn more about you? And tell us from a pet parent perspective and from somebody who wants to learn about franchising.
Sure. So you can learn more at dogdrop.co, dogdrop.co online. You can find me on Twitter. It's at Shaina Denny. Pretty active on Twitter there. And if you're interested to learn more about what we're doing, we also sell compostable poop bags and paw and bum wipes and other daily dog essentials online on our website, and have other franchise opportunities. And we're just really interested to work with folks that are just as passionate about pets and also are tech savvy and have a operator mindset.
That's amazing. Well, I just want to propose a toast to you and wish you a very happy new year. Thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
my guest.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Isabel.
My pleasure. It's always great to speak to somebody who's passionate about pet care and doing it right. I also want to propose a toast to my executive producer, Mark Winter. Thank you, Mark, and to our audience, and wish you all the best in 2024. Here is to a life covered in pet hair, because there's no better way to live. Cheers. To learn more about Covered in Pet Hair, please visit coveredinpethair.com or petliferadio.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.